welcome to part 7. And in the last episode, we just got finished fighting Liu Han, and off-screen we had to deal with Zhang Fei's defense. Boy, that was rather annoying. Anyway, before Ding Feng takes that land, I'm going to take all of Zhang Fei's territories. Every single one of them. But first, I'd like to point out that my characters are between level 2 and 3, with the only 3 in my group. Okay, let me rephrase that, level 1 through 3. And with the only 3 in my group being Yue Ying. Now, that means one of two things. Either one, I hope to God I have enough money to buy an officer that I can use, or two, I'm going to have to start buying some high-level lieutenants and promoting some lieutenants. And that's going to suck. That's going to suck royally. Anyway, speaking of things being normally outnumbered, we're in Tian Shui, one of a few lands in this game that makes defending the base and protecting it, well, not protecting it, more like conquering it. Defending and protecting is the same thing. Why did I even say that? It makes conquering the base really hard because these areas normally have an easy way for the enemy to get to the main camp. Normally put your player away from the main camp and put a base right next to it that belongs to the enemy, and this stage does that a lot, by the way. Or it does another devious thing that is notorious in this game, and that when reinforcements appear and you haven't taken a base adjacent to your base, reinforcements will appear in your main camp, where if you're not there to stop them, your main camp is up for grabs. I'm sorry, but there's countless times that has happened to me, and I have been angry and so mad that I had to throw the controller or whatever. I mean, I was just that frustrated with the game that it did that. That's why I said 4 is one of the hardest games in the series, and Empires is no slouch in the difficulty. Despite it being easier than the actual expansion it came from. The actual game it expanded from. Sorry. Just, this is like the second time I had to, well, the third time I had to play this stage. Okay, let me rephrase that. The third time since I rebought the game. I bought this game in the past, and every time I played this stage, I feared that I would have to save the game, press start and select, and restart it again, and hope to God that if I capture a land, I capture a land that is not Tian Shui. I feel that way about other lands that do that same scheme of screwing over the player, like keeping the player away from his base, dropping reinforcements in there, whatever.
We've taken over the enemy stronghold.
I've had to deal with that on numerous occasions. And on top of that, this place has sorcerers. It just can't get any annoying than that. But still, it is a great game, despite its many flaws. Now then, since we're on, and since I happen to see Zhang Fei is bringing in reinforcements within a minute, in this mission, basically, I might as well talk about the battle tactics as well. First of all, we have the lieutenant skills, and I'll also talk about that when I finish with the battle tactics. I'm sorry, I've been stammering all day. It's just been tiresome for me. Anyway, this will allow your lieutenants to use any skill in battle that they have. And as you may or may not have guessed, lieutenants can't use skills without that card. I think I mentioned that earlier in part 1. Next,
I will keep returning so long
we have
as I am alive.
delay enemy hinder, which delay enemy reinforcements.
It would be wise to pull back.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I could have used that card right about then. Problem? It's random, just like every other policy tactic card or government card in this game. And delaying the enemy reinforcements would actually give you more time to actually capture the base and react than what it would without this card. Oh, and you want to know what else would help? If items would have generated. But moving on, we have Fast Heal, which is another one. This is actually a good one. And if you have reinforcements, make sure this card is in your possession.
They're pretty good.
Because Fast Heal will pretty much make sure that your reinforcements will come in within 30 seconds instead of within 1 minute. The faster your reinforcements show up, the better it is for me. Oh yeah, and by the way, speaking of reinforcements, the reinforcements tend to stack right after enemy reinforcements or ally reinforcements appear, as provided if they have the lands to actually produce reinforcements, number 1, and number 2, it also depends on if any of the officers weren't captured. Just thought I'd bring that out there. Next, you have Insight. And added on with another skill, you would be swarmed with peasants. Lots and lots of peasants. And as you see in the last couple of parts, apparently those officers had insight. Because every time the peasants attacked the area, even though I am neutral. Yeah, wait a minute, I did say in certain parts that until I'm good, I will be attacked by the peasants. But, like, peasants would tend to show up even in defense. And sometimes peasants won't show up at all. But with Insight, where peasants normally should not appear, peasants will appear. And they will hinder the enemy's progress. The peasants aren't as strong as in Dynasty Warriors 5, but they can be a nuisance. And a regular one at that. Next, the one card I also wish should have appeared in this part, Blockade. If Blockade would have appeared, this match would have been mine. But keep in mind, the enemy can do that to you too. Blockade is pretty darn strong in this game, as opposed to the Blockade or Scout in Dynasty Warriors 5 Empires, where it's a 50-50 chance that it'll work.
I shall have my revenge.
Next we have Defections. Now, Defections is a random thing, and I kind of wish I would have had enough money to purchase a Defection. And if I would have purchased a Defection, then, in the next battle, that officer would betray his troops in order to join your side. Kinda forcefully, if you will.
This doesn't look
good.
good.
And let me mind you one thing. They can do this to any of your troops as well. You want to know how bad it is? One time, I almost had the entirety of China in my hand. And some bastard used Defection. And Defection hits one of my officers. I'll give you one guess as to who that officer was. In fact, The officer in question was none other than Lu Bu. I pretty much lost that entire land because of the fact Lu Bu defected onto the enemy side. And he was already at level 5 with a level 11 weapon. So in turn, I was just royally screwed as soon as that person brought defection into the battle. So defection is a pretty powerful weapon. And there's no way to avoid it. So I so far am lucky that that did not happen to me this time around.
Not quit just yet.
But you never know. The moment it does, it's going to suck. Unless I'm the one who uses the card. Then it's going to be awesome.
We can go no further. Pull back.
Alright, and finally we have Takeover. Takeover is like equal basis in Dynasty Warriors 5 Empires and Samurai Warriors 2 Empires. It allows you to have half of the bases as soon as the battle starts. It's easier if you're in a very bad disadvantage. Because at least you can go back to bases and pretty much heal yourself if the battle gets too rough for you. Now then, since I've mentioned the battle tactics, next we will talk about the skills. As I said, I was going to talk about the skills in this part. First skill is Charge. I think you've seen that a lot. Charge basically allows the enemy or ally to strengthen up their troops and attack the enemy main camp. And since I brought up the subject of reinforcements appearing in the base, that is one of the skills they use. And if they use Charge while in your base, well, surprise, surprise, that base is as good as captured unless you are there to stop them, because that leaves them to be too strong for the allies to take them down. Alright, next up is Shield. Shield will allow the ally or enemy troops to be strengthened to protect the base. And way to go, UAE! Wow, she's doing pretty well, even though she got defeated the first time. Anyway, next up is Taunt, and I'm pretty sure you all know what Taunt is. I think I've mentioned it before. And the next skill that is there is Assault. I mean, Ambush, sorry, not Assault. I'm getting that mixed up. Anyway, Ambush, I'm pretty sure you've seen that too. It's when officers call in troops to do an ambush. And one thing that Lieutenant skill would actually help for is if your Lieutenant just so happens to have Hawkeye, which is the counter to the ambush, as they bring in a bigger ambush to defeat the ambush that has been set for them. Next up is Negotiate. Negotiate, oh my god. There has been many times that Negotiate has either saved or screwed over my troops. Negotiate can be powerful enough to make officers defect. But more than likely, it will make troops defect as well.
Right, let's settle this.
One time, it has actually happened to me. I've had Zhang Fei, the very guy I'm fighting, defect because Zhang He used Negotiate to charm Zhang Fei onto the enemy side. It is a pain in the butt to deal with. Next up, we have support. Support, when added with Insight, can be really aggravating for the enemy. Support brings in the peasants, just like Insight does. And of course, there is Rally, which they've used, which increases the strength of an entire ally force, and Encourage, which increases the defense. That's pretty much all. And we pretty much took away all of Zhang Fei's territories. Man, that is a lot of things I have to talk about today. One thing I can wholeheartedly say, I don't have enough money for any of these guys that got captured. Why? Because I had to buy a policy. One that would actually make things easier on my group. I only have 1,000 gold, and each and every one of these officers costs between 3,200 and 19,000. I mean 1,900, sorry. But in the next episode, we're going to eliminate Zhou Tai, because Zhou Tai is starting to become a nuisance him too. And surprisingly, all of my troops have leveled. So now I may be in good standings in taking Zhou Tai's lands from him. This is RPMan 985. I am definitely thinning a herd in Part 8. See you guys next time.